Okay, Nikki, thank you very much for joining us for this fans Q&A. Really do appreciate you giving up your time this evening. But before we do that, I want to sort of give the fans just a brief background, and it has to be quite brief because I know that you've had a very successful footballing career. I didn't know some of the information that I've managed to find out. That is, of course, assuming that Wikipedia is in fact correct and someone hasn't gone in and just changed it for their own amusement. So I've got down here, and please correct me if any of this is wrong, youth career, Aston Villa. Is that?
Yeah, that was true. And even more bizarre given that I was born and bred in Hastings in Sussex. So when I was 14 playing for my county team, obviously Sussex, I got spotted by an Aston Villa scout, signed schoolboy forms, and it entailed going up to Birmingham every weekend. Wouldn't have been possible without the support of obviously my mum and my dad, giving up weekends, taking me up there. But it used to be really good. We'd go up on the Saturday, watch the Premiership game wherever Aston Villa were playing, stay overnight, play a game on the Sunday, and then come home again. So yeah, it was fantastic. And as a kid, my school holidays down in Sussex were different to the children in the Midlands. So I often got to go in at half term when the youth team wasn't in. I got to train with people like Mark Bosnich on a daily basis, and yeah, it was really good.
Brilliant. That's something I didn't know about you. Fantastic. I'm pleased to say you didn't pick up the accent, which is good. So I'm not so sure we would have been able to understand you down south. Anyway, then you went on to Queen's Park Rangers as a youth player.
In hindsight, you make decisions in your life. It's only when it's all said and done you look back and say, did you do the right thing or not? When I got to the end of my apprenticeship at Aston Villa, end of my schoolboy, I was offered an apprenticeship by Aston Villa to go up there full time when I left school at 16. But at the same time, QPR approached to sign me and actually bought me from Aston Villa as a 16-year-old. And I took the opinion at the time that it was probably better to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond rather than, these big clubs, very few people get through the system, especially goalkeepers. So I went to Queen's Park Rangers at 16, spent 4 years there, did 1 year apprenticeship, a 3-year pro, never made an appearance for the first team. I think I sat on the bench probably over 50, 60 times. And the one time when the goalkeeper did get injured, they'd already made 3 subs. So I think I was destined just never to get on. So, yeah, you never know. If I'd gone to Aston Villa, you never know. But the flip side of that is if I hadn't stayed, gone to QPR, probably wouldn't have met my then wife, had my children. So, it's sliding doors. It's if buts and could be's, really.
Whereas, I mean, like a lot of things in life, be it football, be it work or whatever, it's the right decision at the time for you. So it was the right decision. You made the right decision. What you can't predict is what's going to happen in the future, mate.
Yeah, I've got no regrets. It's just in that same Sussex team was Gareth Barry, and obviously he went to Aston Villa, broke in the team 4 months later, England international. Yeah. So it just goes to show. But I've got no regrets in my football career. If someone had said starting out as a 16-year-old, I'd played over 500 games, 4 promotions. I certainly wouldn't have rolled the dice and tried again.
Oh, fantastic. So from QPR, it says that you went out to Hayes on loan. I presume that's whilst you were at QPR. We won't talk too much about Hayes, but this is the one I want to talk to you about, and you know why I want to talk to you about this. 2002 to 2009, played. It says here, you might correct me because these stats might not be right, and they are editable, by the way, by anyone who's on Wikipedia. 267 games for Aldershot Town.
That's incorrect. It's 313.
Is it 313? I knew you'd know.
I think that's only league games.
Right, fantastic. And the most important stat in those 313 games is 313 appearances, 1 goal.
Yeah, 1 goal. It was a great moment. My first season there, obviously, I got when I got to 20 years old at QPR, I'd been on loan to Hayes, and when I went on loan, Terry Brown was the manager of Hayes at the time. Took me on loan. The week I got to Hayes on loan, Terry left to go to Aldershot, which back then was in the Ryman Premier, which is the equivalent now of the Conference South. So I didn't really get to work under Terry much. Got to the end of the season, I did really well at Hayes on loan for those last eight or nine games. QPR wanted me to stay, but again, it was on the basis that you wouldn't be number one. And I just felt at the age of 20, I couldn't really sit around anymore. I had a taste for first team football. I spoke to Terry and again, took a big gamble dropping into non-league at the time. I think I could have gone to Colchester, a couple of other clubs, but because of the lack of my experience, no one was, I know you should never get guaranteed anything, but no one was prepared to guarantee me a first team spot. So, you know, I went down to Aldershot. They were getting crowds of 2,500, 3,000, which was fantastic. And it was the best decision I ever made. Stayed there 7 years. Went on a journey from the oldest me in Premier League into the Football League. I was skipper the night we got promoted to the Football League at Exeter. I was captain, first game back in the league against Accrington. It was unbelievable, given when you buy into Aldershot and you know that they went bankrupt, they got kicked out of the league, that to restart again, to have been on that journey is something that no one can ever take away from me. And it's something that I wouldn't change for the world.
Well, as you know, I've slightly connected with Aldershot with my son, and
yeah,
you know, there are people that talk to me about you when I go there, and they do. And I mean this genuinely. You are known and held as an Aldershot all-time legend down there. I mean, I know you're quite a humble person, but you sincerely are. And I sent you a little picture message last week. I think you might have got it. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where my lad was, he's gone to the boot room and he's sent me this. He's taken a picture for those that are watching this. He's taken a photograph of the number one hanger in the boot room. And it's just a blank wall with a hanger, and above it in permanent marker is written "Bully." And he sent that to me. Went, look what's in the changing room, or look what's in the boot room. So yeah, you are definitely, undoubtedly, an Aldershot legend. Now that goal, I've seen that video because it is actually on YouTube, and I'm going to try and put that into this presentation and this interview anyway. It was a penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was the last home game of the season when we had won promotion in my first season there, up into then what would be the conference now, and I won Player of the Year that year. It'd been a really good year. I couldn't have asked for a better first season in men's football. Learned a lot. You know, I was in the dressing room with experienced pros. Whereas a young kid, if I made a mistake, they're literally pinning me up in the dressing room. You got to learn very quick that it was about winning and losing. It wasn't academy football anymore. Winning meant something. And the last game of the season, I dyed my hair red and blue. And I think we were 4-1 up with 10 minutes to go, and we got a penalty. And the East Bank, I'll never forget it, probably 2000 in the East Bank, we started singing like, give it to Bully, give it to Bully. And I didn't even really look over to the bench, to be fair. I was straight head down, picked the ball up. and no one could ever take away from me. Every Aldershot fan dreams of scoring in the East Bank, and I managed to do that.
It's a great crowd, isn't it? I mean, I've been to a few home games there, and that East Bank, they're fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just it's criminal, really, that the soul's been ripped out of that club over the last 10 years. The journey that the club went on to reform from going bankrupt, get back into the Football League, it just went down a road that it didn't need to. It lost the identity with the fans. The fans that ultimately brought the club back to life were then taken for granted, pushed to one side. And it's a shame because once that bond goes, you don't get it back. And obviously the club went into administration, it dropped back into the Football League. And now, you know, probably average gates, I don't know, 1,600, 1,700 when there were crowds, when you think in the conference we were regularly getting 4,000. But, you know, I won't dwell too much now on what Aldershot is now. I'll just remember it for what it was. And that was the best place that I ever played football.
Brilliant. Well, let's hope they can get back there. I think there's certain people there that I've seen. I was watching a video last week, actually, and I think the intention is there, but like all of these football clubs, they need some money to be able to do things, and it's not easy trying to get money at this moment in time, is it, for any football club? So then you left Aldershot and you went on to Brentford.
Yeah.
Good move.
it's probably the combination of things, really. I've been at Aldershot for 7 years. The end of the first league season back in the Football League with Aldershot, I just felt at the time maybe going a bit stale. I've been there 7 years, achieved what we set out. The dream was to get in the Football League. You know, we got back in the Football League. We were playing Bournemouths, clubs like that, Brentford's. It was brilliant, but I just felt probably needed a new challenge. Went to Brentford, played 6 or 7 games, and the day before we had Stockport at home in League One, which seems strange now saying that, seeing we see what's happened to Stockport over the last few years. I ruptured my bicep tendon in training. I made a save and it came clean off the bone. So I had to have two operations, and I was out for 6 or 7 months. Got back towards the end of the season. But again, we just talk about how funny things happen, because I got injured on the Friday, and Brentford signed a lone goalkeeper to replace me, Wojciech Chesney from Arsenal. And he went in there and he was unbelievable. As a 19-year-old, he was amazing. So, you know, I come to the end of my time at Brentford. They were keen for me to stay, like kind of unfinished business. But in that time, Gary Waddock had got the job at Wycombe. And, you know, Gary had been my youth team manager at QPR. He was then my manager at Aldershot. We won promotion. He had gone into Wycombe. They'd got relegated from League One, and he knew really his job was on the line. They had to go back up that season, back into League One. And I think he wanted to get what he would call winners around him, people in the dressing room that wanted to win. So went to Wycombe, and that was probably my first season at Wycombe would probably be the best year of my career in terms of performance. It was again another season to remember, really, which culminated in getting promotion to League One.
Fantastic. I suppose your relationship with Gary is probably similar to Warnock and Paddy Kenny. In that sense, everywhere Warnock went, he took Paddy Kenny with him, which is, you know, obviously, you know, Gary knew what you could do as a goalkeeper at QPR. Took you, he was with you at Aldershot, and he's taking you to Wycombe Wanderers with him.
Yeah, it's strange. If you think I started out as an apprentice at 16, I retired very young when I was 32, when I was at Wycombe. And in all that time, apart from one season with Andy Scott at Brentford, my managers were Gary Waddock or Terry Brown.
Wow.
So, you know, you think in a 16-year career you'd play for various managers. I didn't.
Especially in football. I think nowadays, you probably would have had in 16 years, you probably would have had about 18 managers. So certainly if you'd have been playing at the Premiership or the Championship, certainly if you play for my team, Nottingham Forest, you'd have had 25 managers in that little career, you know, that little span. But there you go. So then you went on to Margate. 69 appearances, it says, for Margate, give or take. There's probably a few more in there. And another important factor, another goal scored.
Yeah, that was at Kent Derby. I think it was on Boxing Day or the day after Boxing Day away at Tunbridge Angels. We were 2-1 down in injury time, went up for a corner, scored a goal. It's another kind of surreal moment, really.
It
was surreal, really.
And again, that's on YouTube, so I'm going to nick that. I'm going to put this in the video as well. That was with your feet, that goal, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Well, I like the celebration as well. Actually, both celebrations were good.
Look at King's face.
Then you came to Leatherhead. You didn't play too many games for us, did you, really?
No, I didn't. The plan was to play and manage, but it became apparent from the start that it wasn't really going to work. You know, me and Macca have got a great relationship, but you know, we've never been able to have. You know, we come up against some sides and they've got 8 or 9 staff in the dugout. We've never really been able to do that, and I get why. And I get why my desire was to play and to manage. It effectively saves money that you can spend somewhere else on the pitch. But you know, it was apparent pretty soon that you couldn't do both. So you know, it was right to hang the gloves up and concentrate, in my opinion, on the management side of it.
Yeah, I think well, you know, I sit opposite you doing my bit in the PA stuff, and there's a few teams that when they come to visit us, they have coaching staff sitting near me as well. So they're watching it from that side of the pitch. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. 4 appearances for England C team.
Yeah, I think that might have been 6, and I don't think I ever conceded a goal for England non-league either. Yeah, I know it sounds like at the time when I played, it was England C. I don't think they wanted to kind of like be disparaging against us by calling it England non-league, but it was England non-league. It was England semi-professional. I think they called it England C because some of the clubs were full-time, like I was at Aldershot, so we were professional.
Do they not still call it England C?
Oh, do they still call it England C?
Because Ibs played, didn't he? A couple of years ago. I'm sure I think they still call it England C.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mine was a proper game though. Ibs was playing against the Faroe Islands on the side of a hill with jumpers for goalposts, wasn't he? From the pictures that I saw.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was again great experience. I think played away to Belgium, played away to Italy, played Holland at home, then went over to the tournament where we played Ireland, Wales. Yeah, good experience again. Yeah, you can't knock it. It's, you know, some people will sneer and go, well, it was England non-league, but you still got to be picked.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's still a lot of goalkeepers in non-league football.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about goalkeepers, the difficult thing being a goalkeeper, as you well know, better than anybody, is that you're a little bit less versatile than an outfield player. So you know, if you're a left footer, you can play left back, you can play left centre mid, you can play left wing. You know, if you're a goalkeeper, that's it. You're fighting for that one position. So to get picked for the England C team is a great achievement.
And for a couple of those games, number 2 to me in the England non-league team was David Stockdale. So you know, went on to play in the Premier League for Fulham, played for England, so he didn't have a bad career.
So managerial, couple of years at Margate.
Yeah, a couple of years at Margate, inherited a total car crash. But in terms of development as a person, as a manager, and just all round skills sets, really, you know, inheriting a club that, you know, again, I went there because Terry Brown was a manager, multi-millionaire owner, wanted to get the club into the Football League, paying full-time wages for one night a week training in Dartford. But for me, we got promoted in the first year into the Conference South, but it was very unenjoyable for me because I still wanted to win. And although I was earning good money at Margate, it was a fraction of what I had been earning. Whereas we had players in that dressing room that had been picked up from other non-league teams that were probably on 3-4 times the money they'd ever earned in football, and they were swanning around like they owned the place. I don't feel that the fella putting the money in really ever got value for money. You know, Terry tried extremely hard. Obviously, he got promotion, but at the start of the second season, I think we were bottom at the end of November. I took it on as caretaker originally, and we won, I think, 11 of the first 13 games, went from bottom to in the playoffs. And then the owner at the time pulled the plug, and we went from a 5-figure a week budget, like a big 5-figure a week budget, to literally a budget half of what I've got at Leatherhead overnight. You know, the club was going to go under, but in terms of, you know, digging in and having a bit of fight, good. And I always go back to Margate, and you know, got friends there, and I remember my time there fondly.
Brilliant. And how did you find that transition, Nikki, between being a player and then suddenly being a manager, especially being a goalkeeper? There's not too many managers that have been goalkeepers. There's a few.
No, that's true. I think the best one at the moment would be the Wolves manager.
He's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He is. I think a lot of management comes down to getting the right opportunity at the right time, the right circumstances. I think it's easy to say, well, goalkeepers don't make good managers, but you know, there's loads of arguments you could say about other things, if that makes sense. I think you've got the right person with the right skill sets and the right desire and the right work ethic. I think you could be successful in whatever you turn your hand to.
Good shout. Right, got a couple of quick fire questions for you. This is all a part of our getting to know you a little bit better. Your favourite football team? We're talking about professional football team. I assume you've got one.
Yeah, Tottenham.
Okay. Well, they're talking about Nuno possibly going to Tottenham, aren't they, from Wolves? That wouldn't be a bad move for Tottenham, would it?
Yeah, I was sad to see Jose go. I've got to be honest with you. Again, it just shows, you know, the power that players have at the big clubs. Only takes 2 or 3 players to moan to their agents, who moan to the chairman. It's easy to get rid of one pay packet than having to get rid of 5 or 6 players. So disappointed to see him go, really, especially a week before a cup final. But you know, that's the world we live in at the moment. There's no longevity in football at the top level, that's for sure.
I think he's a great character. I think he just makes me laugh. He's brilliant. I love him. Footballing childhood hero. It's got to be a goalkeeper, surely.
David Seaman, I think.
Right, okay. Yeah. He was all right, wasn't he?
I was a Tottenham fan, but used to go and watch quite a few games. Most of my family were Arsenal fans, even though I was a Tottenham fan. And the best thing I could ever say about David Seaman from being a goalkeeper was you could turn up at any minute of any game and you wouldn't know if he was having a good game or a bad game. It was always the same. Nothing affected him. He had that calm, assured aura about him. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, I think it's because he kind of had the belief that all goalkeepers make mistakes, the best ones make fewer. And as soon as you get your head around the fact that you will make mistakes, you will actually make less.
That's a good shout. Current favourite professional goalkeeper and why?
My favourite professional goalkeeper?
Yeah, currently.
Currently? Oh, good question. Favourite professional goalkeeper currently? No, that's a really good question. It's not something that I really think about too much, really.
I mean, you must watch a lot of football. Yeah,
I watch a lot of football. I think the lad at Burnley's done extremely well. You know, I watched him play at Aldershot a few years ago on loan, and you would never have said that he would go on to do what he went on to do. So I would say that's been a real success story. You know, part of the Charlton setup, loaned out to non-league clubs, didn't really set the world alight, kept working, kept grafting, and now, you know, he's going to go to the Euros and he's in with a good shout of being England #1. So I like stories like that.
Yeah, when I was actually researching you on the internet, and I was doing a bit of background searching on goalkeepers for Aldershot, you've got obviously yourself, you've got, I can't remember his name, the lad at Burnley, but you've got him, and you've got Nick Pope, yeah, and you've got the lad also at Southampton.
Alex McCarthy, yeah.
He was there as well, wasn't he, at Aldershot?
Yeah, Alex McCarthy came in when I was injured for a couple of games, and again, had a real tough time. Like, if he played half a dozen games, I would say that he probably made errors leading to goals on at least 8 occasions. It just goes to show the value of loaning young kids out to get experience. And it's not always good for the clubs they go to because they are being sent to you to make mistakes. But as long as they learn from it in the right manner and they're in a good environment, then it just goes to show that you can use loans for a springboard for a very successful career.
Brilliant. Now, football pitches, grass or 3G? What's your preference?
As a player, grass without a shadow of a doubt. But someone now that is in football and looks at the whole business structure and business model of a football club, then AstroTurf, 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever it is, has to be the way forward. Has to be.
Yeah, it's the future, isn't it? Football, favourite band or musical artist?
Jeez, good question. Do you know what? I wouldn't know if I'm whenever I'm driving in my car, either podcasts or it's Talk Sport.
Right. Okay. No music. So that's what I was just about to say. So if you get in your car tomorrow morning and there's a CD in your car, what would it be? Or is there not one in there?
No, there's not one in there. I don't think anyone has players anymore, do they?
Yeah, I think they're there, but they don't get used, do they? Everyone connects their phones.
It depends if
all right,
my kids...
we'll part that one. We'll part that
okay.
one. You're a bit like me. I mean, I'm surrounded by music, but actually, when I get in the car, I'll put on LBC. I like a bit of topical stuff.
Yeah.
Boring, really. Beer or wine?
I don't drink, neither. I don't drink.
Not?
No, I don't drink.
Okay.
No reason behind it for people think, well, am I recovering alcoholic? There's no reason beyond. I just, I've never been someone that likes to have one or two beers in the evening. I don't see the point. When I was younger, if I was going to have one or two, I'd have 14 or 15. And then as you get older, that's no good either. So I don't drink at all.
No, good shout. Food-wise, Indian or Chinese?
Chinese.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100.
Excellent stuff. Well, that's that little quick fire question round done for you. And thank you for giving us a little insight into you and your history and your past. And if you're okay, we'll crack on now with some of the questions from some of the supporters that have been sent into us. So we've got a question from Mike Powell. And just to reiterate here for anyone that's watching, Nikki hasn't had any of these questions previously, so he doesn't even know what's coming. So Mike's asked, with the money likely to be tight, how do you see the makeup of the team for the forthcoming season, especially as we are losing, and I like the way he's put this, losing the dynamic Charlie Hester Cook to Dorking?
Yeah, so we're going to be in the same boat as the majority of football clubs, really. It's going to be tough. I would imagine we're going to be starting from scratch. We'll be holding trial games in June. We'll be opening our doors up. We will be going through a load of players, trying to put a group together again, really, which is a shame. It'd be 3 years since I came into the football club. Where the club is at the moment isn't where I think any of us expected it to be. Obviously, COVID hasn't really helped. But again, it's just about using contacts. And I'm already using contacts to try and get players in the door for next season. But it's going to be difficult. The club's lost out on a year's worth of revenue. I'm not sure how the club stand financially with having to potentially pay back sponsorship money from last year, or do we have to give them free sponsorship this year? Do we have to pay season ticket money back? I don't really know. But all I know is that we really have to maximise every pound available to us that's allowed for the budget. I have to get maximum value for money this year.
Yeah, I think that the background stuff, when you talk about sponsors and season ticket money, I think that's still being sorted out. And I do know any season ticket holders that are watching this, there is something coming out to them in the post shortly. But as you say, we're not alone. We're in the same boat with everybody else.
Yeah.
He's also put on here, well done for last season. Okay. The progress of Will Seeger was excellent, along with some very good loanees. You must have some good contacts. Clearly you have. He said, by the way, the Worthing game was tremendous.
Yeah, we've had that. Will Seeger has always been somebody that, we've always looked at as being, future club captain, and somebody that ultimately, I believe, will go and play in the Football League. He's still a young boy. He's starting to play consistently. He's got a number of games under his belt now. Will suffered from his own ability, really, because he was that guy that if we needed a left back, we put him a left back. If we needed a right back, we put him a right back. If we needed a holding mid, put him a holding mid. Centre half. He is that gifted as a young footballer. He can play so many positions. And I know last summer, I knew that the season just gone was going to be good for him, because the first time we had a full and frank conversation where he was like, look, I don't want to be moved around. I need to nail down a position. And, his feelings were as either centre half or centre mid. And I totally agree with that. He's probably in a similar mould of a John Stones type. He's very gifted on the ball. He's good passing. He's brave. He's a good size. He's deceptively big. Sometimes he looks. He's a big lad, and he done really well. Biggest compliment I can play him from last season, I know we didn't get to play much football, was the partnership of Will Salmon and Jerry was no longer a guarantee.
Mm.
You know, one of the first on the team sheet, and I'll give him big credit for that. And hopefully, if we can come to an agreement with Will, we'd love to have Will on board for next season, because, like I say, I think probably one more season, another 40 or 50 games, and he'd be good to go conference level minimum.
Yeah, fantastic. He was exceptionally good, I must say. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And no one likes to see Jerry not in the side, but, you know, actually, I think most people that were watching from the sidelines could see the reason why Jerry wasn't necessarily the first choice anymore at that centre-half pairing. I mean, Will was superb, so long way to continue. So Richard Dory boys has sent us some questions. A few questions. Well, I think we've already touched this. What's been your career highlights as a player and as a manager?
So the career highlight would be the night we won the league and promotion to the Football League with Aldershot away at Exeter, live on Setanta Sports. That was probably my best night in football. As a manager, I'd say it's all been a bit of a graft so far. I'm hoping all the good moments are to come, if that makes sense. There's been no defining moments. There's been no cup finals. There's been no last minute goals to, you know, get us in playoffs. So hopefully they're all to come.
There's still time. Still plenty of time. Yeah. Outside of football, any hobbies or interests? Any other sports?
Golf, fishing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like my fishing. My brother's a very keen carp angler, and we often pack up and go for a night fish. Enjoy it, just get away, leave the phone behind. Obviously golf. But as you know, with a family, it's always time permitting. There's never enough of it.
I've got 10 staff in my day job. 3 of them fish, and I quite regularly catch them talking about fishing. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it bores the living daylights out of me. But then I'm not a fisherman, so, you know, I don't get it. I mean, I know that do fish, they absolutely love it. In fact, one of my lads is going away this weekend to do it, you know, to go and fish. And I think most of next week as well. I don't know if he's told his missus yet, but he'll soon find out. So who would you say is the most underrated player that you've had at Leatherhead? And who should be playing at higher level? That perhaps might lead us back to Will again. But apart from Charlie Cook, again, this is who's obviously Charlie's gone to Dorking. So
for me, without doubt, if I was a conference manager tomorrow, I would have Zaki as my number one without a shadow of a doubt. I can't believe that Zaki plays at the level that he does, and me and him have had numerous conversations about it. You know, he's what's the word? He's kind of penalised for his height because he's not 6'2", 6'3". You know, he's 5'10", 5'11". But you know, I guarantee you can jump as high as a 6'3" goalkeeper, or he can stretch. He works incredibly hard, and for me, his distribution, his kicking, his big saves, and I think that's what goalkeepers are ultimately judged on. It's not your bread and butter; it's your big saves against mistakes. And you know, I've worked with Zaki now for 2.5 years, and I can probably give you dozens and dozens of point-winning saves for us. I couldn't give you too many mistakes. I'd have to really think about when Zaki's cost me any points. Fantastic attitude, fantastic lad, still very young. People forget that, still very, very young. And, you know, I felt sorry for him during the lockdown because he had the opportunity to go and sign for a league club, but because he was registered with us, he couldn't do it.
That's a good shout, actually. He is a good lad, isn't he? And I played football. I was a goalkeeper, nowhere near at the level you guys play. But, you know, he is penalised because of his size. You're quite right. But he's got a spring on him that makes up for the height difference that between him and a 6'2" goalkeeper. And, you know, I've seen still photos of him that some of our photography team have taken. I've taken a few during games. And, you know, some of the leaps that he does to get to the top corners and to come and take a ball cleanly in the middle of the box, you know, he can jump as high as anyone. So, yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you for that.
Time at Leatherhead, we do we do put an emphasis on recruiting good lads. I'd rather have a player that was 6 out of 10 every week, but a good attitude and a good egg in the dressing room, rather than someone who some weeks is an 8, some weeks is a 9, some weeks is a 2, and is a bit of a problem. And if I look at the lads like Craig McGee, Misha, Will Salmon, Jerry, Cookie, you know, good lads that always want to try. And that's the one thing probably over my time at Leatherhead. People always say, you know, they run around, they work hard.
Yeah, Craig's got an engine, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, blimey. Right, COVID has affected many non-league clubs over the past year. Do you see this creating a bigger pool of players potentially available for us from other clubs?
I believe there'd be more players available, that's for sure, because from the top down, everyone's squeezing their squad sizes. But it still means that, you know, the clubs with the money are going to get first dibs on them. So it might mean that in some respects we might get a bit better quality player, but the teams above us will get a better quality of players as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the fact that some people go, it's all right, because some clubs will just go bust and drop out the league. That's not what we want, because I guarantee any clubs that go bust and go down, they'll be replaced with clubs coming up that do have money. It's scary. In the league below us, it's scary how many clubs have got 3G pitches now. They've got money, they've got good budgets, they're run properly off of the pitch. So, you know, it's going to be difficult. And you've even got to look at the first COVID lockdown we finished after beating East Thurrock at home. By the time next season starts, that would have been more or less 18 months. And in that period, players have played like 10, 12 competitive games at our level. How's Father Time affected those players? What have they been doing away during COVID? You know, players could be put to me now. We go, oh, he's a good player, but there's going to be a doubt in my mind. Well, he was a good player. What is he like now? So we're going to take a more measured approach. And, you know, if we have to, what's the saying, kiss a few frogs to get our prince, then, you know, so be it.
Yeah, Richard also wants to know, do we have the use of River Lane for training again this season? And if so, how big an impact do you think this can have on the first team?
Again, I think that'll be driven by the tie-up with the under-23s. Obviously, last year we had access to the pitch at the start of the season, which helped down at River Lane. This year, for sure, I think we'll have a much younger squad, a much younger squad. I think that, you know, money's going to be at a premium. I've already spoken to the club about what finances we'll have in place for a budget. So I think our squad will be a lot younger. So we are going to have to train more, that's for sure. We're going to have to try and get a bit more of a understanding quicker, rely on the youth and the hunger.
Good shout. Lucky Fraser, can you confirm to us listening for what period of time you are looking to remain the manager of Leatherhead Football Club? We know it's been a bit of a nightmare for you and Macca, but I, for one, is saying it will be really pleased to see you both remain for a long period of time.
Yeah, so I've got no motivation to leave. Those within the club will know that if myself or Macca had wanted to go over the last couple of years, there's been opportunities to go, but we've stayed, and it's because we want to stay. And you know, I have a career outside of football now, my second career. So this isn't being a lack of ambition on my part, but I've got no interest in going into full-time football again. No interest. If you look at the world of management now, you see these managers, League Two, Conference, League One, it comes out, they've signed a 3-year contract. The reality is, if they get sacked, they probably get a month's money. And then what do you do? You know, you're back on that merry-go-round waiting for another opportunity. When that opportunity comes around, you take even less money and a worse deal because there's another 20 managers out there out of work. Unfortunately, a lot of managers, and I say this truthfully, there's a lot of managers, a lot of coaches, a lot of people involved in football because they have to be. Not because they want to be, because they have to be. There's a lot of people in football that despise football. They don't want to be in football anymore, but it's the only way they can earn a pound note because that's all they have. So
Is that because that's all they know?
That's all they know, and that's all they can do. You know, it's very hard, and I think it's only starting to come out now. Like the mental health aspect of when you come out of football, when you try to do something else, it's not easy. It's really not easy. So I've got no interest in returning to full-time football. Obviously, you know, the one exception probably would be Aldershot. I just feel that, you know, I just feel that, you know, one day if the circumstances were right, I just feel like it's almost fate that I would go back there one day and be successful. But in the meantime, I'm at a club that has so much untapped potential. Look at the area we're in. Look where the ground. Look at the surrounding areas around the ground. Look at the fan base we have. Given the way the club's been run over the last few years.
Yeah, I agree.
It's time now that the football club, and this is me being honest, this is me being truthful, it's time now that the football club stop doing itself the disservice to keep referring to itself as little old Leatherhead. Oh, we're just little old Leatherhead. It needs fresh energy, it needs fresh enthusiasm, it needs someone who's willing, or people, to come in, get it by the scruff of the neck and move it forward. And that's not me being reckless by saying we should spend money that we haven't got. What I'm saying is we should now move the club forward where there's a strategy and there's a plan to allow the club to grow. Because you can't tell me that this football club couldn't survive in Conference South. It was being run properly in a couple of years. And
no, absolutely.
You know, the people that we've had at the club over the last few years on the board, they're Leatherhead through and through. They would die for the club. Like, you know, your Richard Bly's, your Jeff Money's, Gerald Darby's. But they're at a time now where they do, and I know that most have left the board anyway, they need to pass the baton on now. And, you know, I was disappointed last year, and people within the club know I was disappointed. You know, I had a lot of time for Dan Hodges, and I know what Dan was trying to do at the football club. And given time, Dan would have made the football club a lot better. I know he had people ready to step in with investment, looking at the 3G pitch, the 4G pitch. And I'm disappointed for him that obviously he was made a bit of a scapegoat when things started going wrong, that a lot wasn't even anything to do with him. But, you know, we need to kind of grow the club. I look at it and say to myself, if I took over at Leatherhead tomorrow as an owner of the football club, say, or the chairman or whatever, with the contacts I got, I would be astounded whether within a couple of months I couldn't pull a dozen people that I know that have got good running businesses to put in 10, 15 grand a year in sponsorship money, get them on the board, get their knowledge, network. It's all about networking. You know, if you've got a successful business that's making money, you might as well invest some sponsorship into a football club, because you're only going to lose it in tax anyway. But do we do enough in the community? Do we network enough? Do we grow the club? And my answer would be no.
No, we don't. I'm with you 100% on that. I mean, you've only got to look, dare I say it, our friends up the road at Dorking, £500,000 a year in sponsorship revenue he brings in.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And, you know, it's one of those. So, you know, for me, people like Gerald Darby, your Richard Bly's, they should be made honorary presidents, in my opinion. They should be given a title to represent all that they've done for the football club. But in their time of life and where they are right now, they should just be coming to games on a Saturday, having a beer, putting the scarf on and talking to the fans and enjoying watching the football. They shouldn't be dealing with the stresses of trying to, you know, renew the ground, trying to improve the ground, trying to look at land in and around the ground to try and build second and third and fourth revenue streams so the club's making money every day of the week. It can be done at level.
Yeah.
It can be done quite easily. It's not hard, but we need to stop referring to ourselves as little old Leatherhead and really try and do it, but the right way.
Good shout, mate. Good shout. And as always, appreciate your honesty. We know the one thing we do get with you is honesty. And, you know, as I say, these questions aren't filtered and your answers aren't filtered either, which is great. Mike Bellamy now, he said he thinks it's very important for the club, both financially and publicly, well, he's put, and for publicity, I should say, to have a good run in the FA Cup and to at least get to the first round proper each year. What does Nikki think are the reasons why the club has not been able to go beyond the qualifying stages since 2017? And what changes does he think are necessary in order for the club to have a successful run in the 2021-2022 competition?
Well, firstly, obviously, the FA Cup are the most important games. I don't think that in my time at the football club I've ever taken liabilities with any cup competition, even the Surrey Senior Cup. We always put a team out to win. It's not through the lack of trying. When the fixtures come out at the start of the year for a non-league football club, the most important games are the FA Cup games. But without a shadow of a doubt, they're the ones that can bring revenue into the club. You know, we all know about the prize money. You all know when you had your day out at Wickham, the revenue that brought, the TV games. So, you know, there's no magic wand. The FA Cup game is a one-off 90-minute game. You know, you look at Chertsey this year, you know, great getting sent off, losing on penalties. The cup record as a whole hasn't been good enough. But what I would say is we were only probably Travis scoring a penalty against Hitchin when we were 1-0 up on the stroke of half time away from being in the first round. So, you know, we all want to do well in the FA Cup, but there's no magic wand. We always put out the best team we can, but that's the magic of the FA Cup. You can lose to teams below you and you can beat teams above you. And hopefully this year will be one where we have a successful run and we give the fans a day out.
Let's hope so. You never know. Listen, we might even get to, under your stewardship, we might even pull someone like Aldershot. Or wouldn't it be good if it went back to Wycombe Wanderers again, with you as manager?
That'd be good.
Another great day out for the club.
Yeah.
Okay, got a question from Paul Bradbury now. It says here, I know the board and committee are working hard to make sure that we have a viable club for next season, but how do you envisage non-league football functioning next season?
It all depends a lot on the individual circumstances of the club. There'll be clubs out there that are bankrolled by wealthy people and it won't even affect them. And they're probably looking at the situation going, we're well placed now to get promoted next year, because there will be some clubs that usually are up there or thereabouts that probably won't have the revenue. You know, it's on a case-by-case basis. What I would say is I think clubs are going to be slower to commit money this summer. I don't think many clubs will be doing deals before pre-season. I think they'll be keeping their powder dry, seeing what becomes available, because there's that massive question mark, like I said earlier. What players are going to be what they were 18 months ago? Father Time in football catches up with you very, very quickly and sometimes overnight. So we will take our time. We'll be diligent. We'll tap into the contacts we have at like AFC Wimbledon, Woking. We'll get some players on loan. And I know it's a double-edged sword getting loan players, because they come in and they do really well and you lose them. You know, Tommy Wood, Zach Robinson, to name but two. But we are where we are as a club at the moment. Without building the infrastructure like I spoke about earlier, we are always going to be one of those clubs that has to borrow players from elsewhere and then lose them ultimately when they do better. So it's going to be a challenge in the summer, but it's one that myself and Macca are definitely 100% up for.
I think the fans understand that. I mean, we've seen some really good loanees coming in, and I think Jack Curry recently made his debut for the first team as well. So great success. And you know, he was a good player, no doubt. Clearly the lad was talented, but I think what I like to see is that, you know, with your guidance and Macca's, you see these young lads come in and get better. And for the clubs that are above us that are loaning us these players, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and the one thing that's frustrating for me is with the contacts I have in football, it would be a lot easier to get a lot better players, funny enough, in the league above. For some clubs, they just don't want to loan below the Conference South. Pro clubs, if I'm in a Conference South club, yeah, they'll give me players. But as soon as you step down to the Ryman, there does seem to be, with some clubs, a bit like, it's a bit too low. We don't want to loan our players down there. So, you know, that's part of the strategy moving forward. Obviously, in the best case scenario is we bring through Leatherhead under 23 players and we bring through our own players. And if they get sold on, we make a few quid. But that's a process as well that's evolving. Unfortunately, COVID stopped that in its tracks early. But you know, we have to have our eyes wide open in the summer, and we have to, like I say, we will be holding trial games. We'll literally be putting things out on social media, inviting players without clubs to come and play in June. So we try and get a few players ready for the pre-season games. So that's what we have to do. We have to live within our means. That's the way of the world at the moment. And we'll make the best.
As you know, I look after the media at the moment for the club.
Yeah.
Since Scott handed me the baton, and we get contacted quite a bit through Twitter, Instagram, players that want to come on trial, want to showcase themselves, and yeah, listen, you never know, you might unearth a gem. You just don't know, do you?
You never know.
So he's also asked it, assuming player budgets will be cut across all non-league teams, do you think players from larger clubs will have to take or will have to lower their wage expectation if they're released, as we could see those type of players dropping down into our league? So I suppose it might be players from Conference South dropping down into our league. It
becomes dangerous, though, that I've experienced it myself. I've seen it in dressing rooms I've been. Just because players are dropping down to a level doesn't mean they're going to be successful, and more turn out to be a bust than a success. It's always difficult when if you're a player that's been earning 600 quid a week and suddenly you have to go somewhere on 250. I don't care who you are, the fire isn't burning as bright anymore. You begrudge getting paid that money.
And sometimes it's a stepping stone, isn't it? They do it as just to plug the gap until they get something better, which doesn't help the club.
Yeah, exactly. So we will always go on, and we will always go on character, respect, trust, loyalty. That's what we try and work on.
Brilliant. Again, something we might have already spoken about, but he says, how do you envisage the relationship between Leatherhead youth? Will young players view Leatherhead FC as a natural progression and opportunity, or will they choose the bright lights of the likes of AFC Wimbledon, or even, how dare he, Sutton United?
Well, again, it's a two-way street. We have to make sure that the under-23s are run properly, that when boys come out of the 18s, they go into the 23s, and then they have to be able to see that there's a pathway into the first team. But they have to be good enough. We can't just give out token gestures. If the players are good enough, they'll get an opportunity in our first team. There's no mistake about that. And ultimately, given the circumstance of the club at the moment, those players might even get opportunities in pre-season. We might get players out the 23s in a pre-season game that do well and stay with us forevermore. So we really don't know. Like I said, our eyes will be wide open in pre-season. We are looking here, there, and everywhere.
Okay. I've got a couple of little questions for you, because that's actually the end of all the fans' questions.
Okay.
I've just put here, with the early finish of the season, will you look to do recruitment a little bit earlier this season for next season, and perhaps arrange trials and pre-seasons earlier than you normally would?
Yeah, so usually in a normal season, we would go back first week of July. The plan is to hold games, I think, from the second week of June, trial games, like not official club fixtures, in-house trial games. Like I said, we might have to get through 100 players to get one good one, but that's the way we are at the moment. Myself and Mako have got a good work ethic towards it. It's what we want to do. It's the right thing. It's what we have to do, because ultimately we want to be competitive when the season starts.
Yeah, and we've got a game on the 26th of June with complete player performance.
Yeah, so that's my assistant manager when I was at Margate, Paul Barnes, who's the manager of Guildford now. He runs complete player. That's for people that don't have a club. He puts on training sessions, etc., and they go around playing showcase games. So we've got a game against those. And like I say, if we get a good player out of it, then great. If we don't, then nothing ventured, nothing gained.
So we've already spoken about this. We know you've got a strong connection with Aldershot Town. Is this something that you could perhaps use to get in some loan players from their 23s? Well, I have to say, are very good, by the way.
It's definitely the trouble is all my contacts from Aldershot are probably moved on by now. To be honest with you, sometimes it's difficult when an old player who's a manager wants to borrow players from a club where he used to be. Now, I don't think people are going to do you too many favours. But look, I've got enough contacts to know we're already drawing up lists of players that are just getting pro contracts at some clubs that have come up through the youth team that are going to need to be loaned out. So we will have a mixed bag in the summer. There will be tough times next season because that's where we are as a football club at the moment. I'm not going to make any promises or any, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. I think when the club came out with their statements a few months ago, it was like, we very much want to retain our status in the Isthmian Premier League. That's not being negative. That's not being downbeat or downcast. It's where we are as a football club right now. And like I said earlier, till we sort ourselves out off the pitch, start building a robust board with fresh energy, with contacts, not talking about people just coming in to throw money down the drain like a hobby. I'm talking about successful businessmen that are open and honest, that want to put money into the football club on the expectation of getting money out themselves, whether it be for a 4G pitch, whether it be for a cafe, a restaurant on the ground, doing something else with the car park. We ultimately need to attract people into the football club because we need to introduce other revenue streams to make the football club a real asset in the community. We need to redevelop it. We need to tap into the local community. We need to do so much more on every level.
I agree, mate. Absolutely agree. That's the end of all of the questions that we've got for you. I really do appreciate you giving up your time to do this for the fans, Nikki. So really just to hand over to you, is really any messages, anything for the fans that you want to say before we say thank you and goodbye?
I'm coming up, I think next month it'll be 3 years in the job. I think I played under 5. I think I've been manager under 5 chairmen in that space of time. Numerous different board members, definitely a lot of different budgets. But the one constant in it has been the support from the fans, and in those 3 years, I know every home game that I turn up, I can even visualize now seeing at least 50 or 60 fans. I know exactly where they're going to be standing. I know who they are. They're polite, they're welcoming. And that's really why we want to bring some success to the football club, really, for those people that have stood on the terraces. They've seen the ups and downs of the club. It's about really grabbing the football club by the scruff of the neck now and saying, right, how are we going to make a difference to the football club? How are we going to make to the community? How can we make this football club better in a sustainable way that's here forever? I'm not talking about crash and burn. We do not want crash and burn. Someone coming in, putting a couple of $100,000 in, then when it runs out, disappearing down the road. We're talking about a sustained period of investment with the right people, with the right contacts to make the football club better.
Fantastic. And what a great note to finish on. And listen, thank you for doing this. I can tell you, just to reiterate what I've said earlier, when we put the announcement out that you and Macca were going to be here again for next season, the response from the fans was fantastic. So everyone is really, really pleased that you're going to be with us next season. And let's hope we have a really good season. I know certainly you're going to work extremely hard with Macca to make sure that we have a great season, or as good as it can possibly be. And let's hope that COVID stays well out of football and we can just get back to some normality.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Thanks for your time.
Nikki, pleasure. I'll see you soon, friend. You take care, all right? Good man.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.